Welcome to the Mick, a Mook, and a Mike. Hosted by four-time Emmy-nominated producer Frank Bates and retired New York City firefighter, 9/11 first responder, and Vietnam vet, Billy O'Connor.
Today's guest, actor, NYPD Blue, Reacher, Murder in the First, Currie Graham.
My brother
Frankie, how are you, pal? Look at this, matching outfits today. Huh?
I can't believe it. If we tried to set us up, one of us would have forgot.
Without a doubt.
We didn't even talk to each other about it.
Normally I wouldn't wear this thing to the bathroom.
No.
I'm only kidding.
Please,
And with
please.
Derek, I want to thank you for this. It was a wonderful gift. It was very nice.
It was indeed.
It was really nice, man. It was a nice, thoughtful thing to do. You got one too, right?
Yeah, I do.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And yours says the mic on it?
Hey, our guest today is Currie Graham, terrific actor. I've known him for years. He's
Guy's in everything.
he's America's guest star.
He's unbelievable.
He is.
I can't believe I had never heard his name. He's in everything. When I started, I got tired of writing.
Yeah, you realize on this show how many actors we've never heard of before, and there's been so many television shows and movies. It's phenomenal.
I know that guy. I know what's that guy. I know that guy.
Correct.
I've seen him somewhere. When I've seen that guy in, yeah, but
Correct.
the guy is amazing. He's
Yep.
been in every bloody thing.
He is.
Well, let's talk about the pertinent stuff regarding this actor. Okay, can he make a living doing this job?
Well, if you do it the way he's done it, yes,
Okay.
you can make a living.
Interesting.
And
And
it looks like he can make a beyond belief of
But you can't make a living just being a guest star. He has periodically been a regular in many, many shows. He was a regular in Suddenly Susan. That's where I met him. He was a regular in what the hell's the name of it? Murder in the First Degree.
Okay.
He was a regular. He's been a regular in a lot of shows. He was a regular in
NYPD Blue.
Actually,
Yeah,
maybe,
I actually saw he was in the final season of NYPD and the final season of Suddenly Susan. I said maybe there's a connection, but the guy's been in so many big things. It's incredible.
But we'll get to
Let
Currie.
me
we should
just
ask him
specify.
about that.
Yeah, but
You said that you can't make a living being a guest star continually, right? What's the difference? Like if you're a regular, you get like three times the
if
pay.
you're a guest star right now, at current day, you make about $6,500 an episode.
Okay.
If you're a regular, you make six figures an episode.
That much?
Yeah.
Wow. Six figures.
Oh,
it's amazing to think that the difference is.
Yeah, it's that drastic. I mean,
Not everybody makes that.
not everybody makes 100, but you could make it 50,000 an episode. 50,000.
That's still 10 times more than what the
Sure.
guest guy makes.
Sure.
That's unbelievable. That's some disparity.
But let's talk about.
How can I be a regular?
Let's get to the.
Eat plenty of prunes. Speaking of prunes, what'd you think of
You can say
last
yesterday.
last week's tete-a-tete with the two assholes in Zelensky?
It was unbelievable. I was. It was more cringeworthy than watching Silence of the Lambs for the first time. I got about halfway through it, and I couldn't bear it anymore. I mean, I was like this when I was watching it.
What, Silence of the Lambs?
No,
Or
Zelensky. And you know what? I mean, come on. I mean, you got to be unconscious if you don't know that was an ambush and a setup.
Yeah,
Zelensky.
well, Zelensky was obviously unconscious.
Yeah, because they set him up.
He's just as bad as Trump.
Because they set him up. He
fell. He took the bait.
Well, what is he going to do?
He said
he needs the money. I mean, it's like a mayor going to a governor. He needs the money.
Yeah, but if you need the money, you say yes, sir, and then do whatever you want to do instead of buying into.
Yeah, but you can't go.
That's an extremely good point.
Yeah, it is. Is it? But how do you go in front of the whole world and say, "Yeah, you're
They
right"?
do it all
Russia,
the time.
hang on a second. Yeah, you're right. We invaded Russia. We picked the fight. We're the ones that did it. It's a fucking lie. Anybody knows it's a lie. You got to be a moron to think that I'm going to walk up to a 300-pound guy and punch him in the mouth.
Yeah, but you say, well, whatever. You have your version of the truth. Whatever, you have your version of the truth, and I have my version of the truth.
There's no version of the truth here. The guy, Russia invaded the Ukraine.
But you have to know how to get out of that situation.
Exactly.
If you're Zelensky, did you see the ambassador from the Ukraine when Zelensky was talking? You looked at her and she said, oh my God, what the hell is he saying?
Yeah.
He didn't do anything to extract himself from the situation. He made it worse. He did exactly what Trump hoped he would do. He threw water on the fire.
How do you figure he threw water on the fire? By standing up for the truth? I mean, you can't base a whole conversation on foreign policy on an absolute lie.
Yes.
Well,
It's a lie. You don't think it's a lie?
no, I'm not saying it's not a lie, but I think what Frank is trying to say is, if you're the leader of a nation, you're supposed to be a master of conversation and negotiation.
Did Trump look like a master of communication and negotiation?
Yeah.
He was a master of communicating his point of view.
Yeah.
And it was on his home territory. You don't try to litigate a situation like that in front of the press. And Zelensky
Which is why it was a setup.
Yes. And Zelensky should have gone into it having a cheat sheet of what he would say and how he would counter it if that subject was approached. And he did not know. He was just freelancing. And that's the worst thing you can do in a situation like that.
Regardless.
And this is not justifying what Trump and Vance did, because they were wrong. But Zelensky was equally as wrong for throwing gas on the fire.
Okay, so I'll concede Zelensky's wrong for throwing gas on the fire, right? So that's equally wrong with a guy lying about an invasion and basing foreign policy on a lie?
But he had already done that many times over.
That doesn't make it right.
So you knew he was going to do it in that setting with the press there.
Or at least you have to assume that
So far, this man, this thing, whatever the hell he is, has alienated Canada, alienated Mexico, alienated Denmark, alienated Greenland, and now we're supposed to be partners in the UN. He signed, he refused, the United States refused to condemn the invasion of Ukraine and sided with North Korea, Belarus, and China. That's cool. So now we're with them, the axis of evil.
I'm not defending that.
I know, but that's where we're at.
Well,
that's where we're at. So but go back to the lie that the Ukraine was invaded by Russia. That Ukraine invaded Russia. Go back to that lie, and let's go back to the lie that he never lost the election. When does it stop?
Well, it stops when the Republicans actually tell him to fuck off.
That ain't ever going to happen.
Well, that's the problem.
Yeah, that ain't never going to happen.
They've got 49 or 51 or 52, whatever, fucking Republicans that don't want to break. Now, Mitch McConnell is voting the way he should have voted.
Because he's got one foot in the grave.
Yeah, all along. And Murkowski is, voting her. But as long as you got sycophants like fucking Lindsey Graham and the fucking guy in Texas, I'm having
Abbott,
a fucking senior.
Abbott.
No, not Ted Cruz.
Oh, and Abbott too. Abbott's
yeah. Well, there's 52 Abbotts.
I remember when Lindsey Cruz was a huge defender, him and John McCain, McCain's this, McCain's that. You don't think that Trump's got pictures of Lindsey Graham?
No, I think that Lindsey Graham and Ted Cruz are making millions and millions and millions of dollars in their $175,000 a year job.
You're right. And they all are.
So as long as the gravy train doesn't get cut off, they're going to go with
that. You've got absolutely no argument with me. You can be craven. The idea is who pays your salary and who you're supposed to please. The guy who pays your salary or yourself. You got to pay. You got to please the guy who pays your salary.
After a certain while, to make an athlete, once you got LeBron James money, why do you have to play the game?
Yeah.
Once you have Michael Jordan money, why do you have to play the game? Once you have enough millions,
fuck you money, right?
Once you have fuck you money, why don't you say fuck you? And there's 52 Republicans. 5 of them have to say fuck you, Donald Trump.
Yeah, but they got the sweetest job in America.
That's the problem.
Their job is basically fundraising. And the thing is, the more outrageous you are, Democrat or Republican, the more funds you're going to raise.
Yep.
Make as much noise as possible.
Yep.
But I thought it was a disgrace.
Yeah, I thought it was a setup that he fell in, a trap that he walked into.
Disgraceful.
But let's get on to brighter subjects. How about Currie Graham? Can we get Currie Graham on the phone? On a Zoom?
He's got to be busy somewhere. I don't know if we can get him.
Bring him in. That's funny. You'll never find.
Can you hear us? We can't hear you.
Just got to turn. If you look at the bottom of your screen, there should be a mic button with a red line through it. Just click that.
There's not a red line through it anymore.
No, live from Montreal. It's Currie.
Bonjour, bonjour.
Currie Graham. How you doing, pal?
Hey guys, what's going on?
Happy birthday. A couple of days late.
It was my birthday's a couple of days ago.
Happy
Wow.
birthday.
Happy birthday, man.
They just had a nice parade here for me. That was good.
That's
Just a small thing, you know.
Yep, that's Billy O'Connor.
Nice to know you, Currie. Pleasure to know you, Bill.
So then it's the Mick and the Mook.
And a
So
mic.
I know which is which now.
Yes.
Yeah. Easy to tell.
And Derek is the mic.
Hello, hello, hello.
Hey, Derek, how are you? You deserve something. You need a better moniker than Mike.
Oh,
That's
thank
not
you,
enough.
thank you.
Yeah, well, I deserve a
Think
better.
about it. Come up with something by the end of the show, please, sir.
I deserve a better monitor than the Mook.
I lived in Brooklyn a long time. I mean, I knew a lot of them.
Yeah.
If the shoe fits, you know, you got to do what you got to do, pal.
The derivation of the Mook. It was this podcast was supposed to be titled Two Mooks and a Mic, but Billy's wife said that's protected, so we changed it to a Mick, a Mook, and a Mic, and she was right to say that. And
It's hard to believe that there was somebody out there
And-
calling two mooks and a mic that stole the name.
and we've got an Irishman, so he became the Mick.
I was always a Mick, Frank.
Yeah, you didn't become a Mick just on this podcast.
No. But
And I didn't become a Mook just on this podcast either.
No, you did not.
speaking of morphing into things, I tell you, I was doing research on you, man. You're like a chameleon. I mean, they talked about versatility. Every time I saw you, you were like Laurence Olivier with somebody else. I was saying, is that the same guy? I mean, I was really impressed. I mean, you're really real versatile, man. You're not versatile. You're a chameleon. I swear to God.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
How did you develop that ability to morph into any character?
I don't know. Maybe it's just I don't want to be me. Let's be someone else. I'm not sure.
that's
It's
why a
just
lot
sort
of-
of instinctual. You know how you feel about things, and the way the work came to me, it all just sort of fit together. I never really think about morphing into a role, or I just put myself in that character's shoes, and I did. So when I studied, I always saw myself as more of a character actor than a leading man, and I think there was times when in the business they were like, "Hey, let's try to make him a leading man," but I always felt more comfortable with the character stuff.
Yeah, because you
And subsequently, that's sort of how I guess I evolve into these roles and become these characters.
because you have leading man good looks, but you've
I know, that's what I've heard, and it's a blessing and a curse, guys. Look, I didn't ask for all this. You know what I mean? I just did, and now I'm stuck with it, and I have to maintain it, and
Awful burden. It's an awful burden.
But that must be a blessing for you now, because as an actor in your 50s, you still have leading man good looks, but you also have the gravitas of age. So you can play somebody's father or somebody. Well, you're not ready for somebody's grandfather yet, but you can play father roles.
I haven't done a lot of father roles. I don't know if they don't trust me with kids, or they go like, is this guy? They look in my eyes and they go, there's too much crazy there for him to be a father. And I'm like, but I have a kid of my own, and she's successful and she does really well. And they still go, yeah, I don't know. Like, what kid would be yours?
Well, you know who says that? Billy's kids.
My kids admit to the misfortune of being my kids.
Yeah, well, you got two good ones and one little.
You know what, man? I'm going to tell you, I was impressed and kind of this. Wow, like you had a gift that not too many people have. You knew exactly what you wanted to do from when you were young, I imagine, because it seems like you went from high school right into dramatic arts in New York. Is that right?
Well, yeah, I think it was. I think I was going to be a doctor. I think that was sort of where I was headed. I didn't really think too much about theater until I was probably a senior in high school, and I know I'd done a play here, and I did some like regional theater for like a summer job when I was in high school, and then I sort of left that behind. I was playing sports, I was playing basketball, and I thought, well, maybe I'll try to go to school and play some basketball and be a doctor. And I was away at a university in Western Ontario doing an orientation. And my drama teacher called my father, who happened to be the superintendent of education, and she said, "Your son should be an actor." And he was like, "Oh God,
Anything but that.
oh."
Anything
I came
but
home
that.
and he's like, "Look, I'm going to pass on the message, but you do what you do." And I sort of let it sit for 3 or 4 weeks, and then I called New York and I set up an audition at a school and took the bus. I took the bus and flew down there, and I got in.
How'd you get into dramatic arts? Did you have to audition for it?
Oh yeah. I had to. I went to New York. I was sort of late in the game because they had regional auditions and stuff, but I hadn't made up my mind by that point. I was like, well, maybe I'll just go to university. And I think my parents were hoping maybe I'd go to school, like do drama school in Canada, and I didn't really want to do that. So yeah, I went down to New York and auditioned for the head of the school, and they were like, "Yeah, you're in."
Wow.
So I had that all wrong. You wasn't like this driving passion. You had to be an actor. You just
Look, my driving passion was to play sports. And the reason I got into drama was I thought this is good. Like my senior year, we had a really good basketball team. We had a really good team. And I thought, I'm going to take some courses during basketball season that aren't going to be too hard, too demanding. I can get a little nap in, right? I can sleep a little bit in class. If I take drama, and I got in there and I started doing it and I loved it.
wow.
I loved it. I did not expect to. And then the drama teacher said to me, she said, to get your credit for this course, you have to do a play. I was like, what? Do a play? I said, okay. And we ended up doing Taming of the Shrew, and which was a Shakespearean play. And I was like, I did the lead in that, and I loved it, and I never went back.
That was your first part. You did the lead, the Taming of the Shrew.
Yeah.
And the live audience didn't intimidate you or anything else with the play, or
Again, I got to tell you, I don't really think of the live audience because I was in doing my thing. Like I was in the scenes with these people. I love performing in front of a live audience. I haven't done it in a long time, but I loved it. I really loved it.
Just let me correct.
And, it's funny. It never dawned on me because I guess I was a bright kid, but I was, my father might say, a space cadet or a dreamer, or you'd forget your head if it wasn't screwed on. It never dawned on me that I would actually make money as an actor. I did it because I loved it, and I did it because it was fun, and I enjoyed the process. But it never thought, oh, I'm going to make my living doing this.
Now looking back on it, as do I, do you attribute that to the naivete of youth?
100%.
Because if I knew then what I know now, I'd have been an accountant or something other than what I am doing now.
really?
Because the odds are so long. The odds are so much against.
But even
you.
after you beat the odds, you feel like you would have took the safe route.
Especially now, as the business has evolved. What do you think about the evolution of the business, Currie? I mean,
It's tough.
You did 1923 opposite Harrison Ford, and that was 8 episodes. So, and how do you make a living doing 8 episodes if you're not Harrison Ford?
It's the volume now. It's a volume business, and ironically, if you're not Harrison Ford or you're not Tom Cruise, to make your nut for the year, you got to do a lot of work, and there's not a lot of work out there right now. So I think you sort of have to. I started to branch out. I started writing, but I've been lucky. I've been blessed. I handled my money well.
He used a term that Stephen Lang used in this podcast. He said, every year I used to wake up on January 1st and wonder, how am I going to make my nut for this year?
Got to pay the bills.
I still do that. I've been blessed that the work has come, and when I think, oh, I'm not working, and all I get a phone call from a showrunner is like, "Hey, you want to come do Reacher?" And I'm like, "Yeah, great." And so just things pop up. People I've worked with before.
You were terrific in Reacher, by the way. You were.
Oh, thanks. It's turned out to be
really
a big
good.
show.
It's really good.
So you
and the guy who's the lead in that show he's such a sweetheart. He's the nicest guy. He deserves everything he gets.
Yeah, well, it's so nice to hear that, and we hear all of the assholes in the business, but 95% of everybody are good guys. We only hear about the 5% assholes.
You talked about.
I mean, that's the business loves that, though, don't they?
Yes.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, the thing is, you could be the greatest guy in the business. You can be the sweetest, nicest guy. If you have one bad day, that will spread like a wildfire, and everybody's going to go, "That guy's difficult."
Yep.
You talked it before about being a volume business, and by that I mean you want to pay the bills, you got to work. So you work wherever the hell you can work. You got to be versatile. You got to be adaptable. Yep. But you also said that there's not as much. The business has changed. There's not as much avenues for opportunities. I would think there'd be more. No, I mean, with all Netflix and HBO and all the other outlets. No,
I think that there was. I think to go back to Frank's question. I think the business has evolved. It's gone as the business has gone vertical. It's become far more corporate, and it's become far more. I think maybe a little less story driven and a little more driven by finance, right? By making money, which is fine. I mean, everybody should make money. But as it's gone vertical, the people that were the storytellers aren't necessarily being given the freedom to tell their stories. And I think that makes it difficult. Is there more work now than there was before? I don't know. It doesn't feel like it to me. If you look at the seasons they do, you do a season of television, it's 10 episodes, it's 8 episodes. They used to be 22, 24. Friends, Frank, we shot beside Friends.
Yep.
They used to do 26 or 27.
Yep. We did 26 on Suddenly Susan. Nate was a regular in Suddenly Susan. He played a sports writer. What I call you, Nate?
Yeah, Nate.
Your character was Nate. You're Currie, but Currie played Nate in Suddenly Susan, and we often did more than 22.
And it was great. So you go, okay, well, if you're an actor and you want to you do a lot of guest stars. If all the shows are doing 22 episodes, you just got way more chance to work.
Yeah, and for example, I just did this show on Netflix called Running Point. And we did 10 episodes. We wrapped in May of last year, and we won't start until August of this year, and it won't air until May of next year. That'll be 15 months between airings. How can you make a living if you're not Kate Hudson?
That's the whole thing. And they used to hold us. Like when I was doing a show on TNT. And I think we did 12, maybe we did 12. And then I got an offer from Marvel to come on to one of their series. And they had to go back and forth about whether they were going to let me do it. So I'm supposed to go, okay, so 12 episodes is supposed to hold me for the year, and I'm exclusive to that show. And I'm grateful for the guys at Marvel who sort of, called TNT and said, no, this is our guy, and we're going to have him, and you're going to let us. And they did, and I got to do the show.
Now, how they go about saying this is our guy? You're going to let us? They threaten litigation, or they?
No, but I think Marvel's Marvel, and
they muscled.
David Feige, or whatever his name is. He wanted me to do the show, and they worked it out. And I think TNT was totally fine with it.
What was your break?
I don't think he strong-armed. I don't think there was any kind of like, hey, you're going to give him or else.
Yeah. No,
I think TNT saw the advantage of me doing a Marvel show, and it was going to help the show that I was already on.
How'd you get to LA, and what was your break?
How did I get to LA? My break. Is there a break? I don't know. Like Frank, I mean, it was just a bunch of breaks. I think I did a play in New York, a free play. And John Slattery came to see it. He's a friend of mine. And he's like, Jesus, you're really good. And he sent his manager, and I met his manager, and his manager sent me to ICM, and ICM was like, you're a crazy dude. Let's sign you. And then they just sort of job to job, and I did a few movies, and then I did a big feature with Michael Madsen and Michael Rappaport and
normal
James Gandolfini and
normal down to earth guys. Michael Madsen.
Yeah, it was great, and then one thing led to another. And I think it's funny because Frank, it was Peter Roth was really instrumental in helping me.
Peter Roth was the president of Warner Brothers.
Yeah, he's the president of Warner Brothers, and I remember I did a pilot for them in 1 year, and then the next year I did another pilot for them. That was that summer is when they put me on Suddenly Susan. And Peter Roth was like, I'm like, I don't know if I'm funny, Peter. And he goes, well, you're funny if I say you're funny.
If you're written funny, you're funny.
And he's like, well, I think you're funny, and so that's all that matters. And I said, then I'm funny as shit.
You prefer
I'm
comedy?
funny now, Peter.
You prefer comedy?
And he was always a supporter of mine. I remember the last time I saw him, I was doing Westworld. And he came on set with all the HBO executives, and just his typical fashion. He's such a generous, kind, authentic guy. Came over, big hug, happy to see you, glad you're on the show. Just a really, really genuine man.
Peter was the first hugger.
He
hugged everybody. There were stories that he fired somebody and gave him a hug.
I don't doubt that. He hugged it out a lot. We had a few hugs.
So when did you realize that you had made it, or have you ever realized that you made it?
I don't think I ever have. I mean, I think there's probably 20 people in the world who sort of feel they've made it. I sort of feel like every job is important. And every job is my last.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's hard work.
I've always felt that way. Like I finish a job and I go, I'm never going to work again. They found out. Now they know. They know I'm a fraud.
I've heard that before.
I say that all the time.
Sure. You just go, oh my God, how did they find out? and then someone calls and offers you another gig, and you're like, wait, I guess you didn't get the memo.
Yeah.
Because you guys didn't figure it out. But it's been good. I have no complaints. I would love to work more than I do, but I don't know there's an actor out there who would say they want to work less.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. So, what was it like being married to Celia Ward on House?
Oh, she was great. She was great. He was great. I loved doing that show. I had such a good time with them. He was fantastic. We had great chemistry. I think they'd sort of planned to do many more. I'm not sure what the evolution of, what happened in terms of why we didn't continue that storyline. But that was a great show.
I mean, look at
he's a talented guy, and he's funny as shit.
Yep, it sounds like it. He looks like it. He looks like it. And then you had roles in The Mentalist and Weeds and Boston Legal and Desperate Housewives, Criminal Minds, and of course you had the great part in Murder in the First Degree. What was it like working against Viola Davis?
Oh, I didn't work on that show. That was I did Murder in the First, which is a Bochco show.
Oh, okay.
But I think when my relationship with Steven started, probably back in 99 or 98, I did a couple of shows for him, and then in 2004 they put me on NYPD Blue, and I think that kind of getting his seal of approval as an actor and putting me in a hit show, and doing all my scenes with Dennis Franz, I think changed my career. It sort of changed the course of my career and the way people saw me. And I think it opened a lot of doors. And after that, I started to have a lot more opportunities in terms of, how people viewed me and what kind of talent they thought I had. And Steven was, I remember finishing NYPD Blue, and he called me his assistant called me and said, "Hey, can you meet Steven at his table at the Fox commissary?" And I was like, "Oh shit, I wonder what this is about." And he sat down and we were having lunch, and he said, "I think you're a terrific actor, and I would love to. My goal is to put you in every show I do from here on out."
Wow.
Wow.
And you hear a lot of stuff in Hollywood, and I've had producers say a lot of nice things to me, and then I never hear from them again. And he was true to his word. He did. He put me in every single show he ever did from the time we did NYPD Blue to the time he passed.
That's great.
Wow. So I mean that's I mean it's as hard as you work is one thing, but that's like a lucky break that somebody would be that enamored with your performance that they would.
It was just the perfect timing for me. I kicked around a bit, and that came up, and ABC loved it, and the studio was happy, and Dennis was happy, and Steven was over the moon about the performance and the way the show was going, and so he made that offer, and he and I became friends, and we spent some time together. I traveled with him a little bit, and we had a good time. I miss him every day. I think he was he just totally understood how to find the right people. He found the right people for the right job. Like he found David Kelly. He brought David Kelly into the fold. And I mean, David Kelly's a genius. I think he's brilliant. And Steven saw that in him, and Steven gave him his break. And in every department that we had on set, Steven was able to sort of vet the people that were going to be able to make the shows great, and they followed his lead. And I just feel like I owe him a great debt.
Yeah, a lot of people do. He was a great proponent, and Greg Hoblet directed a lot of episodes for him.
Yep.
Down the years. Dennis Franz, really, I knew Steven from Bay City Blues, because that's the show I got my start on. And
Hill Street Blues.
No, Bay City Blues.
Bay City Blues.
That was the follow-up. And Dennis Franz played our pitching coach. And he put Dennis Franz in Hill Street Blues. Then he put Dennis Franz in NYPD Blue. And he used Dennis Franz. He recognized what Dennis Franz had going for him.
Yep.
Ken Olin was one of the stars of
LA Law.
No, yeah, but one of the stars of Bay City Blues. He took Ken, and then Ken did he did LA Law. He did Hill Street Blues, and he went on to do not Saint Elsewhere, 30-something. And he became a big writer. So, I mean, Steven had a great sense for talent.
Let me ask both you guys, because being a layman, I don't know, but when you're casting somebody, if somebody does a great job casting, is it the casting director, is it the executive producer, it's the director? Who's the guy who's the...
I'll let Currie answer that. I have my own answer, but I'll let Currie answer it for
me. Right, I think that's changed over the years. I think it used to be the director. And then I think now it's more the executive producer, studio network.
In television, I would agree. It's the executive.
In television, for sure. In movies, I think it's the director 100%.
Correct.
Okay. So there was a big difference. So the executive producer, he's in control of the show on television, and he can pick out the cast that he wants. I mean, he's going to be the guy.
Yes, because the executive producer is usually the head writer.
Okay.
And television today, whatever the head writer wants, the head writer gets.
And that's the truth.
That's the truth. In films, it's still skewing towards a director.
And is that a casting director, or is that just director?
No, I hate to say this because I got a lot of friends that are casting directors, but I really think that casting directors are just appointment secretaries.
Okay. Well, I mean, I'll go with that. If I can I'll just offer a little something here. I think that sometimes a lot of times, in my opinion, casting directors see something in actors that maybe executive producers don't see right away, or directors don't see right away. And I think that they are proponents for talent. And I think that they are able to put people out front. And I'll tell you a story. it happened to me. I went in to do a read for a pilot, for the lead in a pilot, a sitcom for ABC. And I was already doing a pilot for ABC, and I was getting ready to leave to do it. And I went into the room, I did my thing, and they were like, yeah, thanks, go. And I went to leave, and the casting directors pulled me aside and said, can you wait for a second? I go, sure. And they went back in the room, and they talked to the people that were in there. And then he came back out. He said, go back in, do the same thing again. And I went back in and I did the same thing again. No change. I just was me. And they were like, you're fantastic.
Wow.
Can you come back and test for this role? And I said, well, you fly me back. I can, because I got to go to work. And they did, and they flew me back, and I got the part. I did the lead in a sitcom, in a pilot, because that casting director knew that what I had for this role was right, and they weren't really paying much attention, and he put me back in there. And Peter Roth did that for me too.
Yeah.
Peter Roth did that for me one time.
Yeah, perhaps.
So I think that it's casting people, I think sometimes get like their appointment secretaries, or they're sort of gatekeepers or doormen. But I think that in their way, they're more powerful, I think, sometimes than the business gives them credit for, in the way they're able to maneuver talent in front of the right people at the right time.
Yeah, so I was a little glib in my assessment, because
I think it's a huge skill to be able to recognize that kind of. There's something they just have it. There's something they recognize, and I'm not saying all of them, because I've been in some rooms where I'm like, what am I doing? What am I doing? But other times you just know. They just get it.
And they have the ability to read through hundreds of tapes and then determine which of the 5 or 6 that go in front of the network. So I was too glib in my assessment. So,
but I also think too that even just the way they introduce the actors or introduce the tapes to directors and producers. Right. I think that there's a skill in that when they see, like, I think this is the performance that is right for this role, and the way they approach the showing of the tape, I think makes a big difference. I really do.
What do you say? What would you say are your favorite roles that you've played?
Some of them are kind of obscure. I mean, obviously, NYPD Blue was fun. I loved that. I loved playing that character. I could have done it for years. I know there was some talk about maybe, doing a few more seasons or not with me and Dennis. I would have done that role for years. I did a role on a show called Men in Trees. That was really funny with Cynthia Nixon. Love that part. I love doing that role. I could have done that one forever. And then more recently, I think the stuff I did on 1923, I loved.
Are you back? Are you back in season 2?
No, the strike happened, because they were going to bring me back for season 2, and the strike happened, and I think they were going to do 10 episodes, and I think they only ended up doing 6.
Wow!
And so I think they compressed the whole storyline, and it's an expensive show.
Yeah.
But it was, what a cast. This is one of the greatest casts I've ever worked with. It was really a special experience. And Harrison Ford is a gem.
Gem meaning, besides being a good actor, he's a great guy to work with, nice guy to be around. Is that what you mean by that?
Funny, irreverent, loves to joke around, loves to, take the piss out of people. I loved him. I absolutely loved him. He was the first guy, on my first day, he was the first guy to come to me and, like, give me a hug and be like, hey, welcome aboard. We love your work. We love what you do. Don't be afraid to be, an asshole. Be as mean as you fucking can, because everybody here is awful. We're awful people. And I thought it was funny because, I always tell people, Timothy Dalton was on that show, and I worked with him. And I was like, it's kind of funny because I worked with 007 in the morning and Indiana Jones in the afternoon.
That's not bad. That's not bad company we're keeping.
And I'm like, this is pretty good. When you can work with 007 and Han Solo in the same day, I'm doing okay.
He's in one of my favorite movies, Timothy Dalton, Lion in the Winter. I love that movie, and he's in that.
Oh, he and I spent a lot of time together when we shot in not Wyoming,
Montana.
Montana. We shot in Montana. Sorry, we shot in Montana, and we spent a lot of time together. And he's a great guy. Oh, we laughed so hard. We had such a great time. A lovely, lovely guy.
Who you've worked with so many people, and there's so many things. I mean, I got tired of writing. Who impressed you the most? I mean, has anybody ever blown you away as an actor or blown you away as a person? Just absolutely.
Aside from me.
Aside from Frank.
Well, I mean, Frank. I mean, in terms of running a show and making things work, I think Frank is probably at the top of my list. I mean, everybody else is second to Frank. If you want to talk about people that are second to Frank, I think Anthony Hopkins was pretty great. I love James Spader, Dennis Franz. I think one of my all-time favorites was Don Cheadle. I think Don Cheadle is a brilliant actor. I think he's a great number one on a show. He was so involved and so just, I don't know, he just knew he just got it.
He'd become a terrific director, by the way, also, Don Cheadle.
I don't doubt it. I don't doubt it. His commitment to the work, and when I was working with him, we would go off script a lot, and he was totally fine. We'd just riff and do scenes, and very smart guy, very down to earth. Like his sort of fame and his career hasn't changed him. He's just a really good dude.
Committed to the work. He said, real pro. He said he really blew you away.
And
he did. There's been a few actors like that. There's so many talented people out there that I've had the honor to work with, and I'm super grateful for it.
One talented guy is Neil McDonough. Tell us about Homestead, the movie you just did with.
I love Neil. I've done a couple shows with Neil. Neil is the most genuine, loving person, actor I've met. He is so excited to work. He's so excited to have the people around him that he likes. He's so committed to the work. And even like we went to the premiere, we saw each other, and he's like a brother. And I think he treats people with such kindness and warmth, and it's pretty he's a pretty spectacular guy. And I will say, I worked with Keanu Reeves, and Keanu's another one of those people who, like Don Cheadle, it hasn't changed him. He's so kind and sweet. And I remember we were shooting this big theater.
What was the movie?
We shot till, I don't know where we were, upstate New York, I think. And we shot till like 3 or 4 in the morning. And when we walked out of the theater, there was a crowd of people. Just like there was probably 200 people waiting for him. And we were talking as we were walking out, and he said, listen, thanks for your day, and blah, blah, have a good night. And I said, you too. And I said, are you going to the trailer? And he said, no, I'm going to go do this. And he went and out after, 14, 15 hours of shooting, he went and signed autographs and took pictures.
That's great.
And same with Colin Farrell, same thing.
Wow.
Same thing. We worked with,
same kind of guy. I heard so much about Keanu Reeves being a sweetheart of a guy and unpretentious and everything else. And Colin Farrell's like that too, huh?
Same thing. We were working at this big factory, and people were way out behind the screens, behind the fences, and he came out, and we spent the day working together, and he came out, and I said, are you going back to the hotel? Or he said, I'm going to go. And he walked probably 300 yards out to these fences that were surrounding the factory we're working at, and he went and took pictures and signed autographs.
Wow.
At 3 o'clock in the morning.
Another good Mick, Frank.
Another good Mick. Why don't you tell us?
There you go. There you go. It's got to be that.
Of course.
And Keanu's Canadian, so.
There you go, Canadian.
So I'm Canadian, Keanu's Canadian. We're just good people. Here's the thing.
Accents of birth.
We're really good looking. Clearly. Very smart, very humble.
Yeah, exactly.
That's why we want you as our 51st state.
Yeah, exactly. We're America's hat. That's what we are. You look at the map and you go, oh, Canada's just America's hat.
They're going to call it North Dakota.
North Dakota.
No more North Dakota.
Yeah. I think that'll be an interesting. I don't know. Are we going to be a state? Or are we just going to be annexed? How's that going to work?
I don't know. We haven't decided.
We
yet.
haven't
We haven't decided yet.
Taxation.
Okay, will you let us know when that happens? I would love to know, just so I can be prepared to, change my license plate.
For fealty purposes.
Oh, that's pretty funny.
Yeah, just for practicality. Like, what do I do with my Canadian dollars?
Yeah, I mean, well, there were 70 cents now.
At least, but they're worth 70 cents. If we get annexed, what are they worth then?
Probably 30% more due to the tariffs. Let's get back to Homestead. Why don't you tell us a little bit about the movie? What it was about? Because I don't think many people have seen it yet since it was recently released.
Yeah, it's sort of it's a homesteader movie. It's about people that are preparing for what a lot of folks believe are going to happen, is some kind of a apocalyptic event where the society is going to be thrust into chaos, and are we prepared to look after our fellow man, and are we prepared to help each other survive an apocalyptic event?
And Neil plays.
Well, who do I play?
No, Neil.
Oh, Neil's sort of the homesteader. Like he's the guy that's been prepared for this thing to happen. Who's been preparing for this thing to happen. And he's sort of set up his life, and he's got a big compound, and he's got houses and food stored, and then people start coming to him saying, "Hey, things are going bad. You're going to need protection. You're going to need some help with this." And it's about them trying to protect their lifestyle while threats from the outside are coming after their people and their belongings.
Are you one of the threats from the outside, or are you on Neil's inner circle?
See, there you go. Right away, right?
No.
Right away.
Well,
I'm the bad guy. Yes, Frank. Yes, I am. I am the bad guy.
But with that baby face, how could you be a bad guy?
I don't know. Everybody tells me I'm a bad guy. I think they look in here and they go, "He looks crazy." I don't know. Maybe they like that it's the juxtaposition of this sweet, beautiful face with my craziness. I don't know. So I know that the show is the movie came out a couple months ago. They were happy. I think they're going to roll it into a series now. So it's possible we start shooting in early spring.
Oh, really?
Great.
That's great. So you've been cast in the series as well?
Yes, sir.
That's a home run. That's great, man.
Breaking news. Breaking news.
Well, I'm not breaking news because they haven't greenlit it yet. I'm saying it could happen.
Could happen.
It could happen.
Well, let's hope it does.
Yeah, that'd be a score. That's great news. That's wonderful.
Let's hope.
Yeah, it would be nice. It would be great. And we shoot in Utah, beautiful state, a beautiful part of the country. Nice people.
If you had to do it over again, would you do it the same, or would you make changes, or what would you do in your acting career?
I would still become an actor. I would never change this for the world. I think, would I do things differently? I don't know. I'm not sure exactly what I would do differently. I think there are moments in my career that could have gone different ways. There was a couple of times I go, well, if there was a certain job that I had gotten, and they said on a Friday, yes, that job's yours. And then on a Monday, they said, well, no, it's not, because the network has someone on a deal. So that's not your job. So and that turned out to be like a probably $40-50 million job. And so that I don't have control on. You know what I mean? There's no control over that.
Right.
There's those sort of moments you look at and you go, okay, well, that would have been a different way to go. That would have taken my career in a different way. But in terms of, working and enjoying what I do and working with great people and feeling blessed and grateful, I have no shortage of gratitude for this business.
Did you pass on any parts that you later felt bad about?
No, I passed on some stuff, not necessarily because of the material, but because of what's happening in my life. Like, I had an offer at one point when my daughter was first born to go away for a long period of time probably like 6 months, and I was like, I don't think this is the right time to be away from my kid. But I don't regret it.
No,
Uh,
I wouldn't regret that either.
No, it's
I would have
my
made the
family,
same
my
choice.
kid.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like she was like 3 weeks old, and I'm like, am I really going to go to Europe for 6 months and leave my kid? No, I can't do that. And would it have been a good job? It would have been a great job. But I love my kid,
Yeah.
and so I chose that over work. But in general, I don't have any regrets.
This is kind of a philosophical observation or whatever. I found
Here we go.
No,
Here we go.
I'm not getting too crazy. But in my life, it seems like decisions I thought about during my life, long and hard, they really didn't affect my life that much. The things that were serendipitous, things that I hardly thought about at all, could take your life in a whole different journey. You find that in acting? Does that happen to you?
100%. Well, I think it's more about, not so much about my acting, but my personal life. You make decisions and you go, this feels right at the time. And then 3 years later, you're like, oh God, what did I do? Oh my God, this is not okay. And I think those decisions, right?
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about. I didn't have to spell it out. Definitely. And you go, oh my God, what did I do?
And then once you hardly think about it at all, sometimes they change your whole life for the better or worse, but you hardly put any,
Exactly.
It's just a little bump in the road, But
I think that's part of the life. And, we are the sum of our journey. And would I go back and change anything? I don't know. I kind of like who I am today. I started writing a few years ago. I sold a series. It ended up at Paramount. We didn't make it, but it's part of my journey. And I don't have a lot of regrets.
That's great.
I really don't.
That's great.
Yeah.
And I think if we choose to live in regrets, I feel like I'm going to be I'm angry and bitter, and I don't feel angry and bitter. I feel grateful that I've had this incredible life and this incredible journey with these creative people. I've worked with some amazingly talented people, both in front of the camera, behind the camera. I've made some great friends, like Mark Tinker is a friend of mine, and he's an amazingly talented guy. Rick Wallace. I start naming these people, Tom Spezialy. I work with all these people that I just have such admiration for,
Mark's a good guy. Mark Tinker.
Mark's a great. I just talked to him a few days ago. He's a great guy. He's building a house. He's like, listen, you got your own wing here. Come on out. You can live. And I'm like, I don't need you're my retirement plan.
Well,
when the shit hits the fan and I'm living in a cardboard box under the freeway, that's when I'm coming, Mark.
Yeah. Well,
always.
When you talk to Mark again, give him my best, because
I will absolutely do that, Frank.
He directed the Babe Ruth movie that I produced with Stephen Lang and Neil McDonough, and he was
two great guys.
Yeah, he was a terrific director. We had a lot of fun together.
I really do like Neil. Neil is a special cat. He is. He's a big Boston Celtics fan.
Yeah. Well, that's his problem.
I mean. That's the Mick, right? I mean, what do you say to those guys?
Yep, that's correct. We haven't heard from Derek in a bit, so Derek, I know you've got some questions for Currie.
Well, first question is, you mentioned that you like to work more. How many days do you work on average a year, and how many days would you like to work?
I don't know how many days I average a work. I've never really thought about it that way. How many days would I like to work? I don't think I go by, I don't go by the day, I go by the job, right? So I go, well, because some jobs, like I was doing a series in New Orleans and that lasted 4 months. And how many days was I working versus how long was I there versus how long was I in the job? So yeah, there's a 4-month period of my life where I go to do Reacher and I'm in Toronto for 4 months. So it's more about the jobs for me. I think there was a point in my life where maybe I don't want to say I worked too much, but I worked like I was on plane to plane to plane to plane to plane, plane. And I got to the point where I'm like, I don't know what city I'm in.
Right.
I'm not sure. Am I in Vancouver? Am I in LA? Am I in Toronto? I don't know where I was.
The nice thing about that is that you can live on your per diems, so you don't even have to go into your paycheck to live, because when you're traveling on location, you get such a nice per diem, and all your hotel
Well,
and everything are done.
not so much anymore, Frank.
Well,
Yeah.
Things have changed now. You used to get your little envelope of cash,
yeah.
right?
Now they're all the studios are cashless.
It's all cashless. It all goes onto my corporate check. It goes into my corporate account. It doesn't. There's no more.
Slipping.
I used to like that. I remember working with John Cusack, and we both got our envelopes. They come with their envelope, and I got my envelope, and it was like this, and he got his envelope, it was like that. And I'm like, wait a second here, that's your per diem? That's you got a fat stack, man. And we laughed.
Sounds like Billy's bookmaking days.
So the answer to your question is, it not about the days. Would I like to work more? Yes. To do more jobs? Sure. And I will, as the business starts to come back from the strike and from COVID and from the contraction. I think the business is starting to pick up, and I'm starting to look down the road of, well, I've got this option and I have this coming up, and there might be something for the summer, and so it'll happen.
Nice.
Question for both of you: the industry hasn't recovered yet from COVID entirely?
Well, I think it tried to recover from COVID, and then I think then the strikes happened. And then after the strikes, I think the business contracted, and there's a lot of theory about why that happened. Silicon Valley owns Hollywood. Silicon Valley put a lot of money into streaming, and now Silicon Valley is sort of going, hey, we gave you all this money, we want our return.
And I think I think that as the business is evolving, it is evolving away from Los Angeles. And we can't afford to make shows in Los Angeles because the studios have so much overhead, and the corporations have so much overhead, and we don't get any tax credits. In Canada, for example, we get a great tax credit in Canada, and we get the benefit of having every dollar spend like it's 70 cents. So
you're getting 30-cent tax. You're getting a 30% tax credit, and you're getting 30 cents on the dollar.
Correct. Wow. So we can do a show much less expensive in Canada by flying the Currie Grahams and Harrison Fords of the world up to Canada than we could do it in Los Angeles.
Yeah, that's a no-brainer.
I think everybody's trying to bring production back to LA, and I feel like once the toothpaste is out of the tube, it's really hard to get it back in.
Yeah. I mean,
I go around the country and I see the kind of studios that have been built. You go to Atlanta, you go to New Orleans, you go to even Montana, you go to Texas. They got Hollywood happening right there.
Yes, but even those studios are not as inexpensive or are more expensive than a studio in Vancouver, a studio in Montreal,
sure,
a studio in London, a studio in Budapest, a studio in New Zealand or Australia. And that's where many of the shows are going today.
They are.
Especially the single camera shows. I'm currently doing a budget for a multiple camera show that could possibly be shot in Vancouver because we can't afford to shoot even multiple camera shows in Los Angeles because
think about that.
Because of the price that a network will pay us that covers half of our cost, and in there is no syndication market. So where do you sell it? Where is the aftermarket? So you have to go shoot it for almost a license fee.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
I remember when I first came to LA, you'd see units on almost every street.
Yep. I
was at that big building downtown. I don't know, that big studio downtown.
LA Center.
LA Center. I was there. I was there every week. There was stuff going on. I was shooting there all the time, and now it's like a ghost town. I used to be. You'd go to Toronto, and on every street in Toronto, you'd see units, big units parked. You don't see that anymore. You just don't see the volume like you used to. And I think they've sort of outsourced a lot of stuff. You look at the streamers they're buying from, like you said, they're buying from Sweden, they're buying from Norway, they're buying from Denmark, Budapest. All these foreign shows are coming in, and people are watching them.
Yep.
And so it's cheaper to buy a show that's already been shot in London or in Japan or in Korea and put it on the air.
So do you think the unions sort of outpriced themselves and screwed themselves over the long haul? Because
I don't know how it
themselves
got
out of
so
work?
fat. I don't know. It just got really fat.
It's not.
You know,
It's the
It's-
government.
my lady here. I'm in Montreal visiting my partner, and she's a director, and I see what the series they're doing now. I see what they do with what they can do with the money they have, and it's insane because the budget. If you propose the budget they have to somebody in LA, or they would say that's impossible.
That's
And
how,
yet
that's how it
and
got
yet
to
it gets
Montreal.
done, and it gets done, and it looks fantastic. So I don't know where all the fat goes.
Well, in any budget, and your director will tell you this, most of the fat is above the line. 3/4 of the budget is above the line, and about 25% of the budget is below the line.
Like my pants.
Yeah.
above the
Most
line.
of the fat, most of my fat is above the belt.
So
So above the line meaning the people behind the scenes? Is that
no, above
No.
the line being actors, producers, writers.
okay?
But sometimes, you know this, Frank. Sometimes shows have more producers than actors.
Yes, but that's above the line, and that's part of
Yeah.
that's part of the deal. The deals being made now, they have pods and production groups, and every agent's taking a cut, every manager's taking a cut, and every manager and agent is getting an executive producer credit. That's where a lot of the money goes.
It does, and you see when the credits roll, you'll see what 12 producers, 12 executive producers,
Correct.
and then you'll see 7 actors.
Yep.
I don't want to change the subject, but I want to just ask real quickly because you mentioned something that triggered something I wanted to ask Currie. Is it more important as an actor to have a manager or an agent? Is there? You have to have both. Who would be more important? I'm just curious.
I don't know. I guess. I mean, I've always had a manager and an agent. That seems to work well for me, just in terms of procuring work, and also like my agents tend to focus more on my acting, and my managers tend to focus more on my writing. Not more on my writing, but they give my writing more time because they see the direction that's going.
And do you still have a lawyer?
I still have a lawyer. I still have the same lawyer that I had when I first incorporated.
And do you still have a publicist?
I still have a publicist. Obviously, she's not working for me right now because I'm in Montreal. You know, they're having parades for me here. And if I'm having my own parade, I don't need a publicist.
You're doing fine.
You know what I mean? But when I do have shows, yes, I bring her. Siri Gabby is my publicist. She's great. I love her, but I don't need one right now.
So I want to point out to Billy and Derek that he's got 5 partners in his business.
Yeah.
His biggest partner is Uncle Sam.
Right.
Uncle Sam loves me.
Then he's got, well, he should. You're our 51st state, and
But I live in LA, so I pay all the LA tax.
So he's got his Uncle Sam, he's got his agent, he's got his manager, he's got his attorney, and he's got his publicist. So
Jesus, Frank, I'm depressed.
he's got 5 partners.
I thought this would be like an uplifting show.
Now, if you had to cut, and you obviously the first person to go would be the publicist, I would imagine.
Uncle Sam.
But if you had to cut between the manager and the agent, who would you cut? If you had to make the choice, I'm going to narrow you down.
I don't know. I haven't been put in that position yet. I think I'd keep them both and then just not pay them. I just stiff them. I say, guys, work,
Well,
and then just not pay them. It'd be like, no,
you'd be like Donald Trump.
Get the hang of it.
Yeah. You know what I think I'm going to do is I'll keep the agent, the manager, and the publicist, and the lawyer, and then, like Rick said, I'll just stiff Uncle Sam.
That would be
Well,
be my choice.
It seems to work out for some people.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Mhm.
Yep.
You don't always have to pay all the taxes.
Nope.
No, you don't.
Nope. Derek, any more questions?
I got a couple.
I'm paying just can I say one thing before we
Sure.
start? I pay my taxes every year.
And so do I.
I don't want to give any information that people go, hey, this guy, we got to check this asshole out. He's not paying his taxes. No, I pay.
What's the sentiment in Canada regarding, if you want to give a statement about Trump, for the not directly from you, just the sentiment of the people.
You just asked me to speak for a nation.
Yes.
Well, shit, they're running parades for you.
I don't know that I can speak for all the nation, but I will speak for the people that I know who are Canadian. I think there's a general sense of terror, maybe fear,
right.
Astonishment, shock, trepidation, flabbergasted, gobsmacked, shivering.
No amusement, huh?
I don't think anybody's finding it terribly funny. No, I don't think anyone's giggling in the corner.
Wow.
Pretty much how we feel here.
What's that?
Pretty much how we feel here.
Well, I mean, I think there are pockets of people who feel that way, and I think there are pockets who think maybe this is going to be a great thing. And I've learned in my life that politics and religion, I just sort of keep that to myself.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I believe in both, but I don't choose to get up on a soapbox too much. I think that my position as an actor and as an artist, I think, it's like people don't necessarily want to hear what I have to say. And I don't know that it benefits me.
Correct.
In terms of business.
Good point.
You're going to alienate half your audience.
Yeah.
I don't want to polarize myself. I don't want to be polar. I'm not the guy who's going to polarize the situation in the world. My job, and I'll say this, and you'll like this because it's kind of existential, but my job in my life is to keep the 10 feet around me filled with gratitude, love, and hope. And so if you come into the 10 feet that I'm in, that's what you get from me. Right?
Yeah.
I'm not trying to be combative. I'm not trying to be polarizing. I'm not trying to do that. I'm trying to meet the world with love and kindness because I believe that's really what we need. I believe that's really what I need. And I hope people can mirror that back for me. If I go into a sandwich shop, I try to make that guy's day a little better than it was before I came in. And that's how I manage what's happening in the world today.
It's a pretty good philosophy.
I can run around and like my hair's on fire.
Yeah.
Or I can go, okay, this is my space, and I'm going to handle my space with love and compassion and tolerance, and I'm going to see you, and I'm going to honor you, and I'm going to respect you.
That's a great way to end the show.
Yeah.
And you know what? It's also a great way to get yourself punched in the face.
Philosophy.
Wait,
Especially
and you're never going to get punched in the face that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's a great show ending. I know we had more questions, but we can't.
Gotta end on a high note, Frank.
End on a high note.
I think we should end on a high note. And you know what? The parade's right out front of the house.
Yeah, and you got to get out to wave to the people.
I do. It's funny. It's like -15 here, but they got a convertible. I got to sit out in the open.
So, Currie, will a statue be necessary or will a bus be sufficient?
I don't know what they've decided. I think they've done an ice sculpture.
Yeah, they'll probably do it. Ice sculpture
for my birthday. It's beautiful, and it is, it's the most beautiful ice sculpture you've ever seen. It's wonderful. I think everyone will think it's the best and biggest ever. Okay?
Great stuff, man.
Thank you so much for being a guest.
Thanks for coming on, pal. Really, it was great.
Great to see you, Frank.
When you're in LA again, call me. We'll have lunch.
I would love that.
But I mean it though.
You really mean it?
Yeah, I really mean it.
Oh, I thought you were just giving me the Hollywood goodbye.
No, I really mean it.
Tell me when you're in LA. We'll have lunch.
Yeah. Please do.
Cape Madalini's.
Please do.
Closed.
All right. Good to talk to you, Currie.
All right, guys.
Great
Thanks so much.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
You got it.
Interesting guy.
Yep. He's a good guy.
Very good guy. Yeah, nice guy. Incredible amounts of credits, man. And that's, you got to just keep moving. Like you always talk about, you got to be adaptable. You got to do what you got to do to pay the rent.
Yep.
You got to move.
Yep. You got to move.
We got to move. We got to move.
We got to move?
Yeah.
We got to move?
Oh, wait. No, we don't have to move.
Okay.
But we got to move. So that was a good episode.
Wonderful episode. Terrific guy. Interesting guy.
Derek, what else?
Well, I want to know, do you know what that 40 or 50 million, I wanted to ask him that question, the 40 or 50 million dollar show that he missed. He missed. Have any ideas?
No.
Okay. Thanks, Frank. Okay.
Hey,
Something with a lot of residuals, that's for sure.
Something with a lot of residuals for sure. All righty. Well,
what kind of show would make him 40 or 50 million dollars, Frank?
A show that would last for a long time and lead to other things.
Wheel of Fortune.
Yeah. Wheel of Fortune.
Judge Judy.
You know, I wonder why Drew Carey is doing Price is Right instead of doing acting roles. But, you know, he probably works 2 months out of the year. He does 52 weeks worth of shows, and then he, you know, goes back to doing whatever he wants to do.
Look at Matthew McConaughey. I can't put on a television anymore without seeing him in a commercial.
Yeah.
He's like, why not do commercials? Well, you could probably shoot them in one day. How long does it take to shoot a commercial?
Well, one day, some of them, maybe two.
It's better than having to memorize a script, no?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Sweetheart deal.
The thing is, I'm tired of watching the Mannings because they're on every commercial and they can't act.
I think they're opening up a hardware store. The Mannings. They're doing everything. They're doing open mics. I mean, they're doing everything. They want to be in on everything.
You said go to the opening of a refrigerator door?
Exactly.
Well, if you pay them.
Oh yeah, Mannings are up, and you're right. They're absolutely terrible. And I mean,
they are absolutely terrible.
The worst commentators I ever saw when the two of them together. I mean, fortunately, we don't have to run a racket for them, and we don't have to pass the ad for them. I think they're going to be okay. But I mean, that guy's selling everything, Manning. I'm sick of looking at him. I mean, and I liked him, and I liked this old man Archie. I used to see him in New Orleans all the time. He was worth the price of the ticket because their offensive line was a sieve, you know. But
yeah, Jay Thomas used to say, "I never met a job I didn't like."
Yeah. That's damn good. It is what it is.
Before you close up shop, I got a question for you. Who do you owe a great deal of debt to?
Of debt to or gratitude to?
Both.
I don't know a great deal of debt to anyone.
I don't mean debt in terms of financial debt.
Shylock. You're Shylock. You owe Shylock a lot of debt.
Somebody who was standing at the corner and they said, "Frank, go this way and I shall guide you."
Steve Papazian.
Steve Papazian. All right. Okay.
Steve Papazian.
Yep.
Okay.
Fair enough.
Who I'm having lunch with on Monday.
Nice. And tell them we said hello.
I'll pick up the tab.
Why not?
Who do you owe it?
And Billy, I got a question and then I'll answer you. Do you know who Don Cheadle is?
Sure.
Who is he?
He's an actor, a real good actor.
What does he look like?
You.
He's about 5'11".
He looks like you.
170 pounds. I don't know. I didn't notice what color he was. He's kind of beige, isn't he? I don't know. I'm colorblind. I don't know.
He's not beige. Interesting.
And who do you owe a great deal of debt or gratitude to? I owe more gratitude to Steve Papazian than I owe debt.
Yeah. I guess that's a hard question. Gratitude. Probably my wife.
It's what I was just going to say that.
Yeah.
I was just going to say that.
Yeah.
Because she steered you clear of many of.
Well, we can all say that in hopes of peaceful times ahead.
Yeah, but I'm not saying it for that reason.
No, I know that. You would never grease the pants of the cookies, not you.
No, I'm more of a revolutionary.
All of our wives have stood by us through thick and thin. That's for sure.
Yeah. Billy?
I'm not fucking hitting this teed up ball. Are you crazy? I'm not going in.
All of our wives have stood through us through thick and thin. That's for sure.
Okay, so next question I'm going to jump to, because I know we have to close this up, but what do you guys, how do you feel about, what's his name, Vance, in terms of the trust meter?
He's less trustworthy than Trump.
I think he's a tool. I mean,
No, he's not a tool.
Yeah, don't.
He's not a tool.
He does what he's played the attack dog well the other night. That's what he's supposed to do. He's the vice president. That's what he's supposed to do.
Yes. But Trump put him in his place already, saying he's not the next president of the United States.
Well, you know what, man? I mean, everybody talks about this huge majority he got. He definitely swept the swing states. But popular vote,
but
it's close to the bottom. But other than that, I mean,
you're
I'm
so
serious.
biased. You're so crazy.
That's what happened. Those are the numbers. He didn't have one sweeping majority. 100 million people didn't vote because they couldn't stand either one of them.
Correct.
Couldn't stand either one of them.
Yeah. Well.
So I mean, it's no sweeping majority.
How many
this guy's coming in like he's been ordained.
How many people did vote?
A lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot.
It's a huge amount of people
160 million.
But he won the popular vote by a very slim margin.
Yeah,
but he won the popular vote by
everywhere.
In the swing states. He won the
he won the electoral vote in the swing states. He swept the swing states.
He swept every county in the United States. He increased his margin in every county in the United States.
If you Google right now, Google what percentage of Trump won, how much was his majority in the popular vote compared to the presidents? It's down by the bottom. So it's not like he's an ordained king here.
No, it's not like he's an ordained king at all. But he got 10% higher vote in California than he did last time.
And I'm not gonna. Like you're right. I am biased. I hate this guy. You're right. Yeah. I'm biased.
All New Yorkers do.
But all people that get elected, all parties that go in, especially if they control. You can look through history on this. If they control the House, the Senate, and the presidency, they have a tendency to overreach. Primaries are coming up. I mean, it's going to be 2 years, but he's going to get a lot of shit done now with Congress. I think the person can trade very easily because a lot of people are disgruntled already with the situation that's going on. And this guy's coming in like he's an ordained king.
Hey, I saw an announcement that said Elon Musk had his 14th child.
Yeah, you told me that.
That's a hotsy-totsy newborn Nazi.
Just another Nazi. Newborn Nazi, yeah. All right, look, enough with the politics. Buy books, read books.
Which books would you suggest they buy?
I would suggest Lamar's Gamble, If These Lips Could Talk, Confessions of a Bronx Bookie.
Combustible.
Read them all.
Hey, you guys are classified as seniors, right?
Yeah. No, I don't want to go there right now. I don't want to go there right now. You'll know why. I'll tell you why off camera.
Okay. Hey, you guys.
Let's close this out and
thanks for looking in, folks.
Thanks for looking in, and we'll see.
We always do.
It's our pleasure, of course.
And like the man says,
love it. Put a little love in your life.
In your life. Keep your boat of life simple. Someone to love, someone to love you. A few friends worth the name, and more than enough to drink because thirst is a dangerous thing.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
This guy's.